Okay, this will be your response to comments on my Sam Harris Gets It Wrong video. One person asked a question. Andreas Moss says, are you saying that some happiness or pleasures are on the cost of others' sufferings, or are you saying all happiness is on the cost of all sufferings? I guess I'd have to say all. I'm basically saying there's a cost to existence. The cost is suffering. In other words, in order to be happy, you have to ignore the suffering that's going on. Because if the suffering is on your mind, how can you be happy, truly happy, when you know there's suffering going on? And there is, all the time. I've been to the ER enough to know that, take my wife to the ER, emergency room. There's always somebody else there. There's always somebody in the emergency room having a bad day. Can you be happy, truly happy? I mean, we can be happy, but you've got to ignore that. I think Woody Allen said that in some video. He said you basically have to have your delusions in order to be happy. And you say, do you have any examples of this? And that's it. Just spend a day in an emergency room. Try to be happy in the emergency room. I mean, you could try to cheer people up, I suppose, but is that truly being happy? I mean, there's some miserable creatures going through the emergency room sometimes. One time, somebody got the shit beat out of him, and this guy's girlfriend was wailing, walking the halls, and it was, it upsets me to this day to think of that. So there you go. We had, I made a comment saying I think Sam could be swayed to antinatalism ... maybe. And I say that because he's one of the four horsemen, and of the four, I think he's the closest to being. He's more of a realist than the others. Like what's his name? The God Delusion guy, Dawkins. The greatest show on earth. What the fuck is that? Hitchens, I mean, I've heard him encourage people to have babies. And who's the other guy? On Dennett, he's a compatibilist. If somehow free will and determinism are compatible, which is completely incoherent. So Sam Harris, I mean, he's so close. He understands suffering. I mean, one of the sections in his latest book is the truth of suffering. He understands the suffering of other sentient beings. It's like he's just, matter of fact, in one of his videos, one of the free will, one of the guys in the audience, before he asked his question, said that his presentation on free will, his notion of no free will, is so simple that people just don't get it. And I think that's the same thing with antinatalism. It's just so simple. People have a hard time accepting it. It's just, but it is simple. I mean, what can you say? It's simple. So anyhow, Valhalla 56 says, I don't think so. He has a great life, and I know I am swayed to AN. LOL. Just because, I mean, I had a decent life. I don't know if I could call it great, but I was already, I was just baby step away. I mean, I'd never heard of antinatalism. Once I heard it, it's like, oh, duh. Then Al A1, or either A1 or Al Sunshine says he could be swayed to antinatalism for others. Well, I mean, yeah, that sounds like what's for others. No, I was thinking of somebody else. That's just antinatalism for himself, not others. Anyhow, then someone replied to, I guess, Al Sunshine, Rep 5281, quote, normal, unquote, people have a hard time accepting the truth of antinatalism because of their nice, cushy lives and creature comforts. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's just, even, I'm sure Schopenhauer had a fairly decent life. I don't know for sure, but he had time to write all that stuff. So, but all you gotta do is recognize that there's suffering in the world for no good reason. I mean, now, I mean, animals can't help it. We can't talk to the animals. They don't know, they don't understand what's going on, but they do know when they're suffering. So just because you got a cushy life doesn't mean you can't understand the simple, rational, ethical argument. Don't bring another sentient being into existence without a good reason. Anyhow, it goes on. I doubt someone like this Harris guy would ever accept it. Well, like I said, of the four horsemen, I think he's the closest. Then Al Sunshine replies, I meant that if he saw a dollar opportunity, a book, lectures, interviews, etc., he would certainly be interested. Well, I mean, Harris has said that people like him should be taxed more, so I don't know. I despise his type and what they represent. Well, that's being a little harsh, I guess, but anyhow, Alfred Berry says, hate to say it, but people with certain books talking about immolating everyone did occur once before. In Germany? Really? Why didn't you name one of those books? Are you talking about the Nazis? No, they wanted the master race. They wanted to get rid of everybody else. We're talking about getting rid of every sentient being, quickly and painlessly. Not keeping the master race around. So maybe you could elaborate. Al Sunshine again. So basically nothing new from Harris as usual, but it's money in the bank. Well, yeah. Petros Adamopoulos says, maybe he thinks we should be grateful to all the people much worse off than us. Let's write them a letter of gratitude. Yeah, exactly. I mean, oh yeah, I was going to say, he wants me to be grateful because I have time to read the book. Actually, I don't have time to read the book. I don't have time to make this video. I should be cleaning the house. But I make time to do this because, I don't know, I'm compelled to. Valhalla 56, I was at a family get-together last night. I didn't mention how dire the situation is with myself or the geopolitical that could go off any time. I don't want to spoil their good time. Telling them, yeah, we could be nuked any time. Lots of nukes out there. Like I said, I'm worried about nukes because we'll survive the nuclear war. Well, I said that in the previous video. Poker God 99, word salad with a topping of mumbles, please. Not sure what that means. Al Sunshine, who decides, Sam? Well, I mean, the only rational beings on the planet are us, so we decide. I mean, like I say, it has to be, you know, the thought it's a thought experiment for me. Because if it's actually man-made red button, I'd be leery of, because I'm an engineer. Everything we put on the rockets was tested and qualified. How do you do that with the doomsday bomb? How do you test it? I guess we could send it to Mars, see what happens, but yeah, it's just a thought experiment. If you could, without, you know, you're 100% sure, you push this button, basically everybody just drops dead. All sentient beings just drop dead. I'd push it. I mean, you could, you know, sterilize the planet, whatever. Or get rid of need. Anyhow. Arrow 251. He's quoting Sam Harris here. Quote, the question of our ethical connection to the unborn and the never to be born is an interesting one. We clearly must place some value on possible states of suffering and well-being. There you go. Possible states of suffering and well-being. But the key one is the possible states of suffering. That's the one that really... You're going to impose suffering, possibly, likely, on somebody else if you bring another being into the world. That wouldn't have been here if you hadn't done so. So that's why I say he's so close to understanding. He just that happiness thing seems to, like, a world without happiness is a bad thing in and of itself. No, a world with unhappy beings is a bad thing, but if there's no beings to be unhappy, that's not a bad thing. Okay, going on. For instance, why would it be bad to painlessly kill every person currently alive in his or her sleep? We can't say it would be bad because of all the suffering it would cause, because everyone would die painlessly and there would be no one left to grieve. Exactly. The immorality must relate to the potential states of future happiness. See, that's where he goes off the rails. That would that would be cut off by such an act. Well, see, like back to his statement in the book, the foreclosure of potential happiness of beings that don't exist yet. That's completely irrelevant. It's like I said before. You got to worry about what suffering you're going to impose. If they're not in existence, they don't care because they're not in existence. Only reason a deprivation of happiness for living beings is a bad thing. But potential beings is not like potential energy. You know, like you lift this can of soda has potential energy. If I let it go, I mean it's there. The potential energy is there. If I let it go, it turns into kinetic energy. A potential person does not exist. There's no potential person in existence. So it's not the same thing. If you believe, as I do, that human life is, on balance, extraordinarily beautiful and well worth living. See, you must think that ending all human life would be bad, even if it could be done painlessly. Well, see, I don't believe that's a thing. I don't believe, as you do, that human life on balance is extraordinarily beautiful. Because you take something beautiful and you wipe some shit on it, you got something shitty now. That's what I'm saying. The suffering just cancels out whatever beautiful thing. You see, why is it well worth living? If they're suffering creatures right now, but it's well worth living. So yeah, it's the ego thing, which he's arguing against with his free will. I mean, he's arguing against free will. So the ego is just an illusion. Well, the illusion is that the ego is actually doing something more than just experiencing something. Ego just experiences, but it's not. The ego doesn't do anything but experience. So that's where he thinks things extraordinarily beautiful. I mean, yeah, if you ignore the suffering, yeah, I mean, yeah, life wouldn't be so bad. It wasn't so bad, you know, type of thing. Anyhow, so there you go. Like I say, he's so close. So I think there's another quote from Harris. My argument applies to all conscious creatures. See? He understands it's not just us. Going on, to the extent that they are conscious. Well, I mean, to the extent that, like I said, sentient. They feel pain. When a zebra is getting its ass eaten by a lion, that zebra is in pain. It's trying to get away from the lion for a reason. It doesn't want to feel the pain. They feel just like we do. Anyhow, I focus on humans because we are most concerned about ourselves, and I believe we are right to be. So that's where he's kind of going off the rails. Given that we seem to experience the widest range of conscious states, well, I mean, see, again, it's not so much about consciousness as about sentience. We feel the same things. I mean, mentally, you know, mental suffering, we might have more capacity because our brains can imagine. Anyhow, but I do think we should be very concerned about the suffering we impose on other animals. And brain-to-body ratio seems a reasonable basis upon which to organize our intuitions on this front, such as we should be more concerned about chimps than about chickens. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's, I mean, all this fluff above the chicken brain and lizard brain is what gives us. Well, I mean, the other animals have fluff too, but somehow, which is a mystery, we have language, we have logic. Put those two together, you got rational thought. That's what the other animals can't do. Anyhow, so now Arrow 251 is making his own comment. I don't think Sam Harris is trying to dismiss anything. I don't think he was actually consciously trying to dismiss, but whenever you're making the argument, you should include all sentient beings, because they suffer the same way we do. That's basically. I knew that he concerned about other sentient beings. So why he didn't include them? Well, he just said why. Because we're more concerned about ourselves. But that's just the ego talking, which he says is, basically an illusion. So anyhow, he is moving in the direction that all healthy-minded humans are instinctively driven towards happiness, even the people who are presently suffering. Well, yeah, I mean, you're suffering, you want to stop the suffering, for sure. But, and the happiness is really, I don't know if that's instinctively, even if it was instinctively, that's like an argument from nature. Being a rational being can look at the world and get depressed. That's I firmly believe that. I think that's the result of rationally looking at the world, just stepping back and say, what's going on here? Oh, sentient being suffering. Well, that's depressing. Anyhow, you can't blame somebody for wanting to be happy just because somewhere somebody may be suffering from it. With that reasoning, I could say suffering people are making happy people suffer because they want to be happy. Well, I mean, be happy. But don't make such, like, they got that song, that one got a song that got 10 million hits or whatever. Happiness is the truth. Don't give me any bad news. I'll be just fine. Don't discount the suffering. Be happy. Fine. Be happy. Just don't turn it into something that's philosophically justified, if you know what I mean. And yeah, just, oh yeah, and don't make any more kids. Don't be so happy that you think it's worth starting another being which could suffer more than you have. So yeah. Quote, killing the passengers the day before in their sleep. Oh, did I say that? See, I don't think I said killing the passengers. I meant, I'll have to go look. Well, I'm pretty sure I said killing everybody in their sleep the day before. Not just killing the passengers the day before. Anyhow, maybe that's what he's talking about, mumbles. Maybe I didn't make that clear. Yeah, but anyhow, that can go in a few directions. So, yeah, if I said that, that's not what I meant. I meant killing everybody the day before. I'm assuming you have given me the power to look into the future. Well, I mean, yeah, in a sense, something bad's going to happen again. If not an airplane crash, it's going to be something. Something bad's going to happen. Guarantee you. And if you don't do it now, again, it's a thought experiment. If you could do it and you don't, everything bad that's going to happen, which will happen, is on you. You're saying, yeah, happiness for those that are happy is worth letting others suffer. And I'm okay with that. I would kill them all in their sleep to keep them from suffering the 8 minutes of descent into the mountain, but the families of those people will suffer either way. Well, yeah, like I said, I meant kill everybody before the plane crash. Remember, healthy-minded humans instinctively seek happiness. Well, maybe so, but we're rational beings. We at least have the ability to think rational thoughts. Well, the brain has that capacity. I keep forgetting to say that. Anytime I say I or you, take those words loosely. It's the brain doing everything. I'm just experiencing what my brain is doing. But when they become aware that people are suffering from that happiness, they most likely will change something. But when they become aware that people are suffering from that happiness, well, I don't think people are suffering from others' happiness. I'm just saying, to be happy, you have to ignore the suffering going on. Because how can you pay attention to the suffering and be happy at the same time? I don't see how you can do that. Okay, Valhalla 56 says the only reason I wouldn't press the red button has to do with consent. I didn't consent to be born. I'm sure many people have bad lives, how bad their lives are, don't consent to die. Well, I mean, that's the problem. I mean, it's all or nothing. I wouldn't push a button just to kill 1 million people, because that would, people left behind are going to suffer. So it has to be all or nothing. Yeah, I mean, as it stands right now, going out and just killing a few people, you've ended those people's suffering, but there's going to be suffering nevertheless, because there's people left behind. Like I say, it has to be all or nothing. If everybody did consent, that would be different. Well, again, you've got a choice to make, and it's a thought experiment. Look, either you would push the button because it's the right thing to do, or you wouldn't because you don't want to die. Well, I'm not going to... oh, well, he doesn't want to die, so I'm going to let all these other sentient beings suffer because these people don't want to die. I'm going to have to overrule their autonomy. Their right to life is, I'm sorry, is null and void in an all or nothing scenario. I think we are on the verge of World War III at pretty much any time. So those who press the red button, and they will not being it in a manner that would be painless. That is, millions burned to death, probably me because I live near a big city, and will not vaporized, just burnt like some barbecue. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, the people, if they dropped the bomb on my house, yeah, I'd gone, but unless you can drop a bomb on, in that vaporized zone, if everybody can be in the vaporized zone, but do we have enough of that? I don't know. I'm on pain management, so I have strong pain meds, but I have too little to end, and I have to wait till my next refill. I monitor the international news for any lead time for when the birds fly, but birds fly from but less than 30 minutes after launch. My personality is even with the pills. I will doubt that the launch is for real and not take them. Anyhow, so just another Tuber 3 replies to whoever that was, Valhalla 56. I wouldn't worry so much about the consent in that case. I would worry about the suffering that can be caused by pressing the button, Well, yeah, I'm pressing the button on nukes is different than pressing this hypothetical button that would just... I call it hypothetical because, I mean, Gary thinks that we can actually make a mega bomb that would do the trick, but again, I would have to test it. I'm talking about pressing a button would just make everybody die in their sleep, basically. Just drop dead. Basically stop their heart. My wife had a cardiac arrest. Her heart basically stopped pumping blood to her brain and she just dropped. She was, she had her fairly easy out. I mean, she was suffering before the cardiac arrest. But yeah, she just dropped. Of course, I called 911 and they resuscitated her, and now she's going through all this shit. Anyhow, and then Valhalla 56 replies, they are going to press the red button soon anyway. Well, see, it's not the red button. It's just, it's a red button, but it's on just a bunch of nukes, which could just cause a bunch of suffering. And it isn't about ending suffering, it's about their stupid geopolitical brinkmanship and games. Well, no doubt. I mean, that would just be, I mean, it's mad. Mutually assured destruction. But again, is it going to, I don't think it's going to destroy everything. There's going to be survivors. In fact, there's a book, A Canticle for Leibowitz. It's a fictional story about surviving a nuclear war. Anyhow, just another YouTuber 3. You need to be grateful for things that didn't happen to you yet. And then when that horrible thing happens to you, then you need to be grateful that something even more horrible didn't happen. So what? I don't have... So what? I don't have all my limbs. At least I can breathe, right? Exactly. I mean, I was thinking about it earlier. Again, you know, Harris has no idea how bad my situation is. But like I say, my situation, hypothetically, is that I'm knee-deep in shit. And he's going to say, well, see those people over there? They're waist-deep in shit. And they'd give their left nut just to be knee-deep in shit. While Harris is completely above the shit. And Bill Gates is floating above the shit. I mean, it's just this grateful thing. Oh yeah, I was listening to the Catholic radio. They quoted something from the New Testament talking about in the latter days people will be ungrateful. Yeah, no shit. No, that wasn't. Took this long for people to be ungrateful? Wait, we're supposed to be grateful you put us in this dumbass situation there, God? Oh yeah, haters of God. As if God really exists. Actually, we're haters of the notion of God. God is not, you know, you've heard other videos where God is dead. Well, as soon as God was alive in the first place, what's dead for the atheist is the notion of God. Even though the notion of God is alive and well, obviously, there's a Catholic radio station 24/7 talking some serious bullshit. Anyhow, thanks. Take care.